Welcome to Unit 7 of EDSE 512. This is very exciting because we are diving into the opportunity to complete a critique of an IEP. So what you'll notice is that thus far we've been able to write different sections of the IEP, and we've been able to practice what needs to go in and how to create the best possible document with the case studies that have been provided to us. At this time, we're going to be presented with an IEP document, and we're going to have the opportunity to critique it, to say what's been done well, what's in compliance, what might be missing, and what should or could be done better to develop a stronger IEP based on the standards provided to us. So that's our focus for Unit 7. You can see that Unit 8 will involve another critique, Unit 9 will involve our third critique, and then we'll be back diving into case study content again, and that'll be in Unit 10. But for now, we're starting off with the critique projects, which is kind of the middle of the course. So we'll also be looking at the consideration of special factors in this unit. And the Unit 7 lecture is provided to you here as a PowerPoint. This is just going to focus on continued development of the IEP. So as always, keeping these forms from the CDE IEP website is helpful, and then you can review them. You're familiar already with the prior written notice and consent for evaluation. The notice of meeting form is just informing all the people, parents or guardians who will be present, of the time and the date and the purpose of the meeting, and we've got all of the relevant information documented there. You're familiar with the evaluation report and the determination of eligibility. Then there's another PWN document. You'll notice PWN happens quite a bit. It's any time that we're taking an action or proposing to change or remove something, alter something within the plan provided for the child. And then the IEP form itself. So this presentation will go through all of those things. Notice of meeting, onto the evaluation, and we're actually going to move down to number 6. This is the last one in this presentation, and this is for the IEP form itself. So obviously on the cover page, we've got the demographics, relevant information about the student and the family. And so we're always going to want to give as much information as we have here, particularly, not just in a case study, but when we're working with a student in the real world, we'll want to make sure that we have all of the dates, initial placement, reason that we're coming together for a meeting, for instance, or for an IEP review, and the type of meeting being held. There are a lot of dates that come here in this IEP. And as mentioned, we've got the demographics section, information about the student. We want to make sure that contact information, everything is updated, the home school versus the school that the child is attending, and the eligibility category or primary disability. For instance, once we've gone through that eligibility determination, if the child's eligible under autism spectrum disorder, we'll want to make sure that that's documented there. Obviously, we also have to prove that the family has received a copy of the procedural safeguards and that they're aware of all of those rights and have been given those in writing by the school district. We want to list every participant. Remember, it is essential that those participants include the general education teacher, and we also really want to have that parent guardian there. And of course, as the student gets older, it's valuable to include this student for any part of the meeting that we can, or for any part of the process. Present levels, as we've been working through, strengths and interests, everything going on for the child. This is information for the case study assignment. So as you continue to look into that, this presentation will be helpful because we will return to the case study. And then consideration of special factors. That's our most important focus for right now. These are going to be anything that could interfere with the student's learning or anything that might impact it. And we have to look through every single category. So we want to ponder what tasks are difficult for the student that might require assistive technology, and how might that technology be used. We do need to look at arrival and departure times and transportation supports that might be relevant. And the CDE IEP procedural guidance provides this to us on page 65. So I'm really going to focus in on the special factors here. This section, it looks pretty quick and easy, and it can be, but we really want to make sure that the team has looked into each of these. So is a behavior intervention plan required? Yes. If so, we have to make sure that this is done with fidelity and that it is provided and that there's a note regarding where it can be found. Same thing for a communication plan. If the student has hearing impairment, unique communication needs, so we might be taking into consideration assistive technology, a communication device, healthcare plan, and if so, where is it located? And then if the student is blind or visually impaired, all of these must be checked yes or no. And if yes, then we need to provide information regarding the plan that we have completed. Limited English proficiency or deaf and blind. And finally, does the student require special transportation? So a good note on special transportation, this might be if the student has, if there's a safety concern that makes the general education bus an inappropriate consideration for the least restrictive environment, because LRE can also be taken into consideration on buses or in school transportation. So this is not only related to safety, for instance, or support needs on the bus, but this could also be related to placement. So if a child's LRE identified is a program that is not held at the home school within that district, at the neighborhood school, and the child must be transported elsewhere in order to access the LRE, so that might be to a different neighborhood school that's maybe 15-20 minutes farther from home. At that time, special transportation would be required, and the school district has to provide district transportation door to door for the student. So this is the LRE that's been identified. We're going to make sure that the child gets there safely and gets there in a way that is consistent and reliable and paid for, provided by the school district. So remember, when we think about special transportation, it's not just, oh, does the child require a harness for safety, or oh, does the child require a quiet, small bus environment for sensory reasons. But we also have to think about, where is the child placed? Where is the LRE? Is it in a separate school environment? Where must we drive or transport the child to ensure that that LRE is accessible? So page 65 for the procedural guidance manual will give you more information regarding special factors. Okay. More information regarding special transportation, as I just mentioned. And listed here, just what we were talking through. Okay, so we have to look through each of these, and this will be relevant to us as we're working on the critique. CDE IEP Forms, you've got this link already, but it is provided for you here again in Canvas, just in case you need it. And then we've got a little section here on standards-based IEPs. So it's important, as we're thinking about developing goals and objectives, that we consider state standards and how we can create IEPs and goals that are founded within those standards and based upon those standards, okay? So we need to tie the IEP goals that we develop to a specific grade that the child is in, and base those IEPs and what we're working on the state academic standards provided to us. Okay, so it's got to be the right grade. Let's say that the child is in 9th grade. So we'll pull up the academic standards, and let's say that the child is receiving support in reading. So I'll go to reading, writing, and communicating, and we're developing a goal. I'm going to go to 9th and 10th grade because we said the child's a 9th grade student. Developing a goal in reading. So I'm looking at the Colorado Academic Standards. All standards, okay. Let's say that we're trying to create a comprehension goal. And even if a child struggles greatly with comprehension, we can still select something from the 9th grade, even if they're not reading and comprehending at the 9th grade level. We can still select a 9th grade standard to work towards. So we've got a couple different options here. Understand logical progression. This one could be a really good one for comprehension. Obviously, it depends upon the child and the situation. But looking here at the standards, we might choose one of these. So we could say use key ideas and details to cite strong evidence and determine the central idea of the text. This could be a really good standard for a child who's in 9th grade. So if we're writing a goal on reading comprehension that the child will identify main idea, even if the child's not reading at 9th grade level, this determine the central idea of a text state standard is a 9th and 10th grade standard. So that's an example of how we can connect them, provided from this grade level, 9th, 10th grade, in reading for all purposes, even if the child is impacted significantly in reading and is not reading quite at grade level. So this is our critique. This is the main focus of our unit. This is something that it would be an IEP review process that a person might go through. And that's something that a practitioner can experience, where the state will randomly select an IEP to critique and review. And that can happen regardless of your district or your role. It's not because they're picking on you for a particular reason. It is just a random selection. So we've got to be ready for a review at all times for this audit process. So this would be a modified form, this critique form, of what they would go through if they were reviewing and critiquing one of your IEPs at the state level. Okay, so this is the critique form that they would go through. Click yes or no and notes about why. Okay, so this is the IEP that you're given, and what you'll need to do is carefully read through this IEP for Andrew Smith. Now as you go, you're going to notice some of the stuff is not done, some of it's not right. That's to be expected because you're critiquing it. It's supposed to be really quite poor in some areas, okay? So read everything that you're given here, and then you'll compare it with what you have learned with the procedural guidance document and everything else that we've worked through in this course. And in other parts of this module, you'll critique other sections. That's why we have several critique assignments. But for sections 1 through 7, for this assignment, you will answer yes or no to every category on the critique form. And then you will describe the errors that you see in notes, okay? So if you determine, yes, all of this is done in this category, you click yes. You don't have to make notes on that. But if any one of these is lacking and you click no, you have to make thorough notes here regarding what has not been done and what should be done, okay? So why did you click no? And this is an opportunity for you to just type those notes right in there and describe the errors that you see. Notice on the rubric here, we need to just have a really clear answer, especially for those sections where you did click no. And address all applicable sections and the compare contrast between the IEP that you're given and the procedural manual, procedural guidance, and then obviously spelling and grammar. So here's the IEP. If we're going through, as mentioned above, sections 1 through 7, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 participants, 6, and 7. Consideration of special factors. This we have just talked about. So I'll give you one right here already, which you may have noticed. Is this clicked? No. We need yes or no clicked on every single thing. So if you're watching this video lecture, there you've got an answer already. That is missed, okay? What else should be filled out? Now this will probably really distress and alarm you if you've worked on the present levels assignment and you see this. What is this? This is so brief. Okay, insufficient. So when we go back to the critique form down below, present levels, okay, are all of these things addressed? Are the academic developmental and functional needs addressed? All of these different parts and what we're looking for, what has to be done. Is the evaluation compared with present levels to identify the needs? Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay, so that's just one for you already. You can see here this week present levels, okay? So really tear this up, you guys. That's the point. We really need to look through, no, this is not done, and what should have been done, and why am I clicking no for each of these areas? And then if you do click yes, you'll need to just move on to the next section, okay? So that's our critique. This is a great opportunity to review what not to do. Have fun with it, be thorough, and continue to refer to the procedural guidance manual. Have a wonderful week.